As we come to the end of our 100th anniversary year, I would like to share this year's journey with you. I'm about to quickly share with you the centenary year in pictures. We've had our ups and a few downs, but the Rotarian spirit is indomitable, and so it rises above any efforts to lock it down. What a year it has been. Whilst we had anticipated a few minor changes, the year forced us with COVID to rethink many things so as to be able to service our communities and to help keep our members engaged. But so much more has been accomplished in such extraordinary circumstances. Our club proved it was much more ready for change than I could have imagined, and indeed everyone slipped into the Zoom environment, mostly with ease. Whilst the face-to-face has proven to be an extremely important part of our club, we will now see the hybrid future with Zoom a crucial part as well. At the start, and before we understood what COVID would mean, we said we'd increase our membership with Rotarians of Action, and our hardworking membership team led by Shanti Dabu introduced 15 new members in a lockdown year, with another 7 that are in the pipeline to be inducted early in our next year. This has taken us to 6 ordinary members more than last year. We've created events that would increase and leverage the great speakers to raise the profile of Rotary, and Brett Sutton was an example of an event that was larger than any other we've ever held. We wanted to partner with our Melbourne City and corporate partners to increase our engagement in the city. And this partnership was strengthened through our engagement with them on International Women's Day and our newest mentoring program. We wanted to build projects that inspire others to be Rotarians. And each of our R100 projects excelled in profiling Rotary and our club. And we wanted to have fun and celebrate our 100th anniversary. What a stellar lunch our centenary lunch was. So at Changeover, here we see ourselves, and we introduced the incoming team with some of their favorite pursuits. Little did we know that hedge cutting, international travel, and motor racing, among others, would be curtailed during the year. But the team was ready and enthusiastic to pursue the year regardless. At my first meeting, I had the special delight of inducting my daughter Sarah into the club. And although in lockdown, we were able to do that face to face. Then we heard from the Honourable Peter Costello on Australia's prospects in a post-COVID world. And our club member, Barbara Yorondis, shared a very lovely poem and set the tone for the year. She said, "Smiling is infectious, you catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw my grin. When he smiled, I realized I'd passed it on to him. I thought about that smile, then I realized its worth. A single smile, just like mine, could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected." And so we had fun throughout the year, which in pandemic times is a much better form of infection. Our 8th July meeting introduced us to the Environmental Sustainability Committee led by Gary Fowler and Peter Berg. This replicates the 7th area of service introduced by Rotary International and Mina Gooley. She shared with us her passion and helped us to understand the impacts of water in our society. Sarah Meredith also called on us to become global citizens. Friday, the 10th of July, the baton exchange to start the 100th celebrations was a spectacular event that very quickly had to go to a combined online and face-to-face meeting in 2 states as Melbourne entered yet another lockdown. This was to be the big lockdown, but before that, we had an amazing event. Our District Governor, Philip Archer, pulled out all the stops with Sydney's Gary Brown, and hosted by David Mann, the Canberra end, His Excellency the Governor-General David Hurley handed the baton to Fatima Ali, the President of Sydney, and at the Melbourne end, there was a virtual handing over of the baton from Mrs. Hurley to myself, and so the tone was set for the year. A year in which our R100 projects were highly profiled. Give Every Child a Future raised over 118,000. Rotary Safe Families now has over 20 ambassador clubs, with Dorothy Gilmore promoting this far and wide, and another 15 clubs wanting to join the efforts. Healing the Hurt and Trauma Support raised 100,000 and established regional relationships with communities in Bairnsdale and Albury-Wodonga, supported by Pam Brown, Norman Tallerud Bay, and Jim Orchard. End Trachoma continued as best they could with the work to end this endemic problem through the efforts of Kerry Kornhauser, Rob McGurk, and Peter Rogers. The Hush Foundation continued the promotion of kindness, and hepatitis raised awareness. At our second lunch meeting, again in lockdown, we had a thanks from Peter Hollingworth that was full of hope, with philosophy from Winnie the Pooh telling us all the wonderful things that weren't cancelled, even if we are in lockdown, including hope. Then Professor Gary Jennings, a cardiologist, discussed COVID-19 and the heart. This was also the start of designer face masks, as we all started to put our own signature on COVID. Our Corporate Partners Day introduced us to Red R and their work. And at the end, my little dog Chili made a somewhat unannounced entrance into our Zoom meeting. Partners Day had us all wearing our favorite masks to win a meat tray. Even the dog turned up with a mask, and Phil Endersby took the prize for a homemade version, showing his creativity. We ended the session with the wonderful sounds of Gurmal Unipingu. Our first evening meeting introduced us to humour and a mathematician, and an invitation to Brighton's event with Speaker Greg Hunt was interrupted by a Parliament House military drill, such is the world of COVID. Our first members' lunch, being run by David Carruthers, introduced a new member in Bruce Harmer and welcomed District Governor Philip Archer. Our past President Robert Fisher was awarded a Paul Harris Fellow Triple Sapphire for his work with Give Every Child a Future alongside Chris Wong. Dorothy Gilmer started compiling the 100 Moments in 100 Years book from Did You Knows that we shared each week. And then we had our largest event ever, which included our District Governor, Philip Archer. It was truly humbling when Brett Sutton accepted our invitation, particularly during a period when time was so precious to him. The event was pushed into the stratosphere when we had 300,000 click-throughs and 3,000 registered. Whilst the club's meetings reached new heights, in the background, our Rotarians of Action were hard at work. By this stage, we had Shanti Bow and her team of Bev Brock and Serena Lowe, among others, building web stories around our club Rotarians and a variety of topics. This was so professionally done that it was profiled in a German magazine. Kerry Kornhauser and Marg Lesser continued to build the relationship with Melbourne City Council and initiating a mentoring support program with Melbourne Sunrise, fostering the interclub relationships. And Suresh Mercandan, Michaela Stafracci, and Chris Stillwell started the process of engaging with other clubs for fundraising activities and debates and work on how to monetize the huge success of our online big events. The evening meeting took us to a discussion on how the pandemic has created a rush to the country. David Fries celebrated his 97th birthday, and the Rotary socks have gone pooch style. We also gained some insights into the Jewish religious festivals that have kept David Cram busy. The next suite of seminars from the membership team appeared, and our guest speaker, Phil Turtle, National President of the Australia-Indonesia Business Council, spoke to us on the business opportunities in Indonesia. We couldn't do around the bay, but Trevor Nink and his team found new ways to support the Smith family and raise a total of $18,000 to address some of the challenges facing students. Ian Ross won the $2,000 bike voucher, and another new member, Carolyn Bala, joined us as Peter Davis and his family received a Paul Harris Award for their great generosity in donating 15 caravans to be converted to accommodation for the bushfire affected areas. We were also introduced to two new members in Bruce Harmer and Gregory Kwon as we prepared for Hat Day. Hat Day was online, but everybody participated and we profiled the homeland story. October introduced us to another new member in Carol Bond and profiled Chris Soteropoulos, our president-elect nominee, and Yidan Z, who had joined the vignette team. Norman Tallerud Bay was awarded a Paul Harris Fellow for the enormous work he has done in the family violence and mental health area, RAG, and also in getting them DGR1 status. In the background again, the membership team started to introduce themed events profiling our Rotary members. They started building a group of Rotary assets and member cameos that anyone interested in our club can view to get a sense of the types of projects they can get involved in. Then the great debate created much excitement between Sydney and Melbourne with the inaugural Stillwell Cup. Suresh Markandan got us underway with his first one, and the icing on the cake was to win as judged by Judith Troth. Our star cast of Michaela Stafracci, Dr. Chris Soteropoulos and Nick Pelham are ready to go with the next debate in Wellington. On the 11th of November, we hit the trifecta. It was Remembrance Day as well as NAIDOC Week, when our honorary member, Lord Mayor Sally Capp, spoke to us. The Sir John Reid Award went to the lovely Rosie Creswell. Our speaker on the 18th of November, Professor Salvatore Babones, provided a spirited outline of Victoria's Belt and Road Agreement with China, and the Rotary Club of North Brighton hosted a hybrid meeting for the Happy as Larry Men's Day lunch, featuring Shane Jacobson and Mark Balla. Murray Verso announced in November that we had received the highest rated club in Zone 8, reaching platinum level for all-time giving of almost $812,000 since the start of the award. Mark Panoli received his Paul Harris Fellow Award for all the efforts in the international programs and supporting the online environment, and President-elect Reg Smith received an AM. Thanks to our chair, Kate Strain, our Christmas for the DG was a cluster affair with presenters from each of the clubs. Santa dropped in, and a very special thank you to the District Governor, Philip Archer, who visited us from the Huon Valley. Unfortunately, not all of the groups were able to organise a Christmas celebration, but those I attended online were very impressive. Stephen Lake had learnt the bagpipes and played Amazing Grace with Stuart Stribling watching on. Adrian Nelson was exemplary as Santa. Dr. Simon Longstaff then shared a report commissioned from Deloitte on ethical advantage that makes the case really clear that ethical behaviour pays. Then my first face-to-face meeting with the club members in their groups for some Christmas cheer. Amit Tohar was given the Seniors Award for the great work that he has done, and he later became a sponsored member of our club. In the brief interlude between lockdowns, we had a quick trip to Bairnsdale that cemented the relationship with this community and the support that we can offer for trauma recovery. The first meeting of the new year was celebrated with a presentation from our newly appointed honorary member, Kazuyoshi Matsunaga, the Consulate General of Japan, and we welcomed a new member in Helen Moylan. Our team won the Muna event. Cassandra Goodman introduced us to a can of worms and how to improve our individual and community well-being. It was then the 8th of February, before our first fellowship event. Dr. Tanya Militek, a Peace Fellow, presented and later helped with the Peace Symposium. Other presentations were from Ruth Carlos Martinez and David Hayes. A research project between Melbourne University and AfriAusCare was celebrated. It was funded by the Department of Justice and Community Safety, and the minister attended. We later supported them with a purchase of a van for AfriAusCare. Andrew Crisp shared the challenges for bushfire-affected communities 1 year on, and his personal challenges. And March saw a very different International Women's Day. What a lineup! And they reached over 4,000 people, with many clubs using the event to promote a fundraising variety of their own. A key highlight was when our Centennial partners in Wellington managed to get a message to us from Jacinda Ardern. Our DG Philip Archer and Gary Brown again managed to pull together a stellar event that launched the Centenary coins and stamps. This featured Ross Greenwood and Assistant Treasurer, the Honourable Michael Sukar. March was also the time that we saw a new club emerge from lockdown in Amesbury. But can you believe it was the 17th of March before we formally met face to face, and it coincided with both St. Patrick's Day and our maestro David Cram's birthday. He had to play his own birthday tune. Again, in the background, the Healing the Hurt project focused on the needs of children who live in traumatic situations. The Rotary Club of Melbourne funded the training of 33 therapists from 12 agencies in the not-for-profit sector to learn how to use EMDR. The Angus Mitchell Oration was only our second face-to-face meeting. But what a cast rolled up, with Rotary International past president Ian Risley and his wife joining Philip Archer and Kate Strain and the rest of the club to hear from adjunct professor John Skerritt. Then the 8th of April saw the launch of the Centenary Rotary book at Yarralumla, with many Rotary notaries in attendance at the Governor General's residency. Project work powered on, delivering home in a box with Alan Wong putting stickers on boxes stored in Richard Parker's chic trailer. Then we hit our centenary birthday. The birthday celebration was spectacular and launched our 100 Moments in 100 Years, a publication put together by Dorothy with the moments we'd been sharing throughout the year. The cake was cut by our youngest member, Yudan Z, and David Jones, who celebrated his 50 years of membership that week, and talented entertainment was on hand. Our past presidents made us feel truly proud to be Rotarians, with a catalogue of projects over the past 100 years, as well as those being profiled in our centenary. The projects are why we do what we do, and these both are and have been extraordinary. Birthday messages for the centenary came from Rotary International, our sister clubs, Australian clubs, and from around the world. Well done to Chris Stillwell and the past president's team for all their work. The celebration was followed by the Peace Symposium and the wonderful concluding panel discussion on reversing the doomsday clock. The Arts Committee, in the meantime, with David Cram, had built a great relationship with Amiens, who have Australians fondly in mind and shared their thoughts with us. Sydney had two celebrations. The first was at the Mint, and a contingent of Robert Meyer and Myra Fisher, Quinn and Lena Scalzo joined my partner Michael Harvey and I. Sydney's special guest was the Honourable Justice Margaret Beasley, the Governor of New South Wales. And for the first time, the two founding charters of our two clubs came together. And here we have past presidents Robert Fisher and Quinn Scalzo helping me hold Melbourne's. It was quite something travelling to Sydney with the charter as cabin baggage. Sydney's president was unable to attend because of ill health, but Vice President Kathy Tate was an excellent stand-in. Jerome Weimer, the commander of the COVID-19 response in Victoria, shared insights on the COVID storm, and we celebrated two worthy Paul Harris recipients in Peter Wischusen and Nina Hunter, who delivered the vignettes through the lockdown. Sydney's anniversary of their first actual meeting was on the 17th of May, and there were messages from Prime Minister Scott Morrison and an address from His Excellency General, the Honourable David Hurley, Governor-General of Australia, and Mrs. Linda Hurley. From our club, we had Chris Wong, who started thinking about a new idea with Indigenous education, and President-elect Reg Smith. Wellington had its birthday celebrations in their Parliament House and were entertained by their well-known local newsreader. All of these events and the esteemed guests who attended are a testimony to the great standing of Rotary in our community at large. Then Associate Professor Lachlan Thompson and Professor Claire Parrish presented on the exciting opportunities appearing in the research into Parkinson's disease. Lessons from Hiroshima left us with a message that Hiba Akusha is not about anger, victimhood, or revenge, but a worldwide message for peace. Professor Margaret Gardner provided an excellent Thomas Baker oration. This was a hybrid event allowing online participation and testing our new equipment. Vice President's Day was an opportunity to share all the work of the committees. It also provided the opportunity to confer Paul Harris Awards on the VPs. Pam Brown for the extraordinary work in trauma and mental health throughout the year, and Chris Stillwell for his enormous efforts in our events, and especially the centenary celebrations. The VP's presentations also highlighted how much work has actually been going on in the background and how the work of Rotary continues no matter what. The new area of Rotary service shone this year and introduced the Environmental Sustainability Award. We inducted 4 new members to our club, and the Axel Award went to Sarah Macleod Burke. Sadly, we had to say goodbye to some of our shining lights. John Reynolds, Bob Crook, Janine Jones, Edna Smith, Beverly Barr, Greg Romanis, Ray Holmes, and Murray Campbell. Also, Alfred Keith Brierley, Dr. George Tippett, and these 2 dear friends died within a few months of one another, both aged 93. We also lost Faye Nicholson and Anne Hollingworth. And finally, just a few days ago, past President Jack Melbourne. Throughout the year, many of these colleagues had their endeavours in Rotary shared with us in our Did You Know moments. We share the loss with their families and friends. Now, as the year ends, we would like to farewell you from our board. From left to right, starting at the back row, Peter Hanlon, Russell Board, Vice President Pam Brown, myself, Vice President Chris Stillwell, Iqbal Rita, Michaela Stafracci, Chantita Boo, Kerry Kornhauser, President-elect Greg Smith, Peter Davis, Claire Fraser, Mark Panoli, and Philip Cornish. All of us would like to thank everyone who supported us this year across both our club and the very many other clubs that we collaborated with. And we would like to wish the incoming board and presidents a wonderful first year of the new century of Rotary in Australia and New Zealand. Thank you all. And as Rotarians, we can be very proud of our club, which certainly followed through this year's mantra and opened opportunities everywhere. Thank you.